Why, I'm your Huckleberry. Hi everyone, my name is Mark and I'm the Space Cowboy, and this is my brand new YouTube channel to talk about retro video games and movies. I'm into shoot 'em ups or shmups, and I'm also into westerns, which is why, having owned this hat for many years, I can finally wear it. This will be my moniker. So yes, I know I look ridiculous, but here I am. Now the reason I'm here is because a good friend of mine, Scott Sega Zombie, has been on the tubes for years and has introduced me to several mates of his, again fellow YouTubers, and they are a great team, a great community, and I feel like I'm an outlier by not having my own channel. I share the same hobby as they do, so I thought, well, why not just extend that hobby and catalogue my journey into video game collecting and playing. So here I am. Now, my journey has been a difficult one, and I say that because I would love to be able to turn around and say I am particularly nostalgic for this system. I've had this system since I was 13. These are my original games and I've just been adding to them, but sadly that was never me. I'd have a system for a month and then I'd trade it in. Then I'd trade it in for something else, then I'd go back and trade it in, and so on and so forth. I don't know how many times I've owned each console, and even now the megadrive I have here, it's the 4th time I've bought that same particular model from Scott. He pulls his hair out. He tells me if you want to build a collection, just add to it. Don't keep trading in. Obviously when I trade in, for the most part, I'm losing money. So it's not particularly cost effective either. And also because, surprise, I live on my own, so I can get away with bookcases full of geek stuff. I can legitimately add to them. And when I do a little tour in a minute, you'll see that there's lots of empty shelves. This is why I've got games forward facing, to make it look more than I've got. But that being said, I guess it makes for a good starting point in this journey. And you'll be the judge, is he trading in or is he actually going to build a collection up? Now, when I think about it, I often hear that there is nostalgia, there is the thrill of the hunt, and there is playing the game. And for some people, for some reason, the playing seems to come last. But I'd argue there's a 4th point that's often missed, and that is displaying it. Now you'll see when I do the tour in a minute that, well, I haven't got a lot of games, but they display quite nicely, particularly the Super Deluxe games on the Switch and the big box variants. I've got some here that I'll show closer to hand shortly. But the thing about it is, a friend of mine, he collects DVDs, and I would go around his and he has got a lounge full of bookcases full of DVDs. And he was in the kitchen making a cup of tea. I didn't think no more of it. But I just sat there, just looking at the different spines, and you think, oh yeah, I've seen that, need to see that. And it's a calming, it's cathartic. You just sit there, absorbed in all these classic movies going back I don't know how many years. And I thought, hang on a minute, this is a bit like being in a library. This is like those Country Life magazines, Ideal Home magazines, where people have rows of leather-bound books, classic books, rows of them. People strive for that sort of stuff. Is my friend's DVD collection any different? Are these games any different to that? So I surround myself with these things, and I think, yeah, this is me moving forward. It's fairly neat and tidy, as you'll see, but there's lots of space to add to. So I mentioned Super Deluxe, and what drew me to these, you'll see, it's the silver band at the top, just premium quality. This is Mushihime-sama. I think it's a 2004 game by Cave, a bullet hell, has a Fern Gully quality to it. The anime film back in the, I don't know why I want to say 1994. This is just, I know it's mid-90s, that sort of thing. But anyway, premium quality and displays very nicely. And of course, there's room in there for more than just the game. And it comes with this. and they all have this, which is a chip tune arrangement of the original soundtrack. I mean, how cool do these look? And also, you might ask, well, couldn't you just get the standard variant of the game? Well, of course you can. This is obviously the case. There's no difference. It does come with some little extras. These little postcards in particular. Well, I say postcards, trading cards, whatever they are, really collectible cards. Yes, you can get the standard version, but I don't find these to be overly expensive. Probably £20 more, and because I've got the space to display things like this, and I don't have like iconic games I'm nostalgic for, I think these fill that void. And what I'm also appreciating is the fact that Super Deluxe do put out several shooters. In fact, there's a new one coming which I'll link below for anyone who likes sort of 16-bit Mega Drive era pixel horizontal shooters. There's a game coming out called Earthion, which I should add is being worked on by no less than Yuzo Kishiro. In fact, he's leading the project, as I understand, and of course he's famous for the music of Streets of Rage, Revenge of Shinobi. I think he worked on Shamoon, and the list goes on. He's behind it. It's his project. It's available now for pre-order in this styling, so obviously I'm going to be pre-ordering that. In fact, there are several games I'm pre-ordering, and I would propose to do an unboxing, play test them, share my views with you, and hopefully get into some dialogue in the comments about shooters, because they are mostly going to be shooters. There are so many of them, I don't really need to start collecting other games, although you'll see on the shelves I do have a fondness also for brawlers, so I've got a few of those. And also obviously there'll be some odd games I am nostalgic for, like Tomb Raider and stuff like that. Anyway, what else was I going to talk about? Oh, that was it. Yes, of course. So the benefit of these, I keep showing these, I know, they display nice, they look nice. Now obviously that's the Japanese version, but there's no region lock with the Switch or the PS4 for that matter. I don't have a PS4. I had one, I traded it in, had one, traded it in. I felt there was a lot of overlap between the two libraries. So I've stuck with the Switch. I can tell you there's over 150 physically released shooters on that system. Loads to collect. I probably have, well, I've certainly got about 20% of the way there, if that. And some of them are hard to come by. So I've got lots of collecting ahead of me. I also want to pick up lots of Saturn games, Saturn shooters. I think there might be as many as 50 or 60 of those. Now, what I was going to say is, I had this debate about whether to go for PAL or NTSC-J. And although I do have some nostalgia for the Saturn, I think the Saturn is my favourite console. I could hold my hand up and say, yep, I had a Saturn when everyone else had a PS1. I did struggle, I must admit, when I went around my mates and he is showcasing Wipeout. It was at a time when I was going out drinking, going out clubbing. It's that dance, techno, music, Chemical Brothers, Prodigy. Of course, I was into that. It wasn't the same on the Saturn. So I'd get a PS1. But then I'd pick the Saturn up again because no one laughed when they saw Virtua Fighter 2. Certainly no one laughed when I had Guardian Heroes going on. And of course, two-player Virtua Cop with two guns. Yeah, the Saturn certainly had its place. So, what I was getting at is I've got nostalgia for the PAL games, but the PAL cases, and it's the same with the Dreamcast, I simply cannot get behind them. Yes, you can buy them mint, and I've seen some today, mint, and I was very tempted. But I know what will happen. I've always liked the idea of collecting a full set of something. I did this with the Dreamcast. I started a year ago. I got a third of the way there. But I was looking at the shelves. I think I'm paying £150 for this game, £200 for that game. I've got no nostalgia for that particular game. I'm not playing it. It's sitting there gathering dust. Needless to say, I traded in. And whilst I still like the idea of having a full set, I figured I should move away from that. And the problem with the PAL cases is that they're fragile, both the Saturn and the Dreamcast. And being a Sega guy, that's kind of where I'm headed. But with the Japanese games, of course, they're in standard CD dual cases, very easy to replace. Anyway, enough of my waffling. So, moving forward, it's Nintendo Switch for modern retro, mostly shooters. I had to think then. Saturn, of course, for Japanese STGs, and also the Dreamcast. And in terms of the Dreamcast, I'm only 3 games away from having a full set of Japanese shooters. Those games being Karus, Radaji and Rainbow Cotton. They're not particularly cheap games, but then, to be fair, when you're in the game of, no pun intended, collecting STGs, shooters, you know you're going to pay a premium. One game I would love to own, and I will at some point, is Hyperduel on the Saturn. It's going to cost me £400. I'll get it one day, but don't need to do it all at once. Anyway, enough of my waffling. Let me show you what I've got, and then we'll play the first level of Mushihime-sama. Here we are, guys, with a quick look at the games I've collected so far. We can see there's a little shrine up there for Lara Croft. Can't beat a bit of Tomb Raider, have to say. Next we have Radiant Silvergun. I do like how that looks. Homage, of course, to the Saturn port with the gold band down the side. What I particularly like is it's got the original soundtrack as well as the chiptune arrangement. Not one of my favourite shooters, I must admit. I know the story's great. I've been told that, but it's not one of my best. There's just too many shot types to select from, and even if I pick my top 3, I still find it quite difficult. So it wouldn't be in my top 10, I have to say. A game that would be in my top 10 is Escaludor 2. Bullet hell there. What I like about that is, obviously it's another cave game, is that if you activate the shield mechanic, the enemy bullets travel at half speed. That's fine, but when you exhaust that shield, they travel at double speed, and that does make the game somewhat more interesting. And sometimes I like to activate that just to be a bit of a masochist. But there we are. Cuphead there, big fan of that. I do love the art style. I could do with more games like that. Is it Mouse? I think there's a Rubber Hose 3D shooter coming out soon at some point. It might be out on Steam already, but anyway, more games in that art style, please. Now we move down to the bigger box collection. I don't have too many of these. They obviously take up quite a bit of space. I am a fan of the Irem volumes, of which I have 2 of the 5. The others haven't been released yet. And I get these directly from PlayAsia, as I do most of my games. I just find it works. I've got no, I use PayPal. They arrive, no drama. Whereupon I've waited months. I don't know, people who have waited years on other certain sites to order stuff. M2 shot triggers. I just passed the Aleste collection. I've got Dodonpachi DOJ there in the middle, or Blissful Death as it's called here in the West. Esperade as well. I do want to get all of them. I mean, I've got that Zero Fire down the bottom there as part of the Toaplan arcade garage. The only thing about M2 is I am missing access to Battle Garega, Dangon Feveron and Ketsui by no longer having a PS4. But I considered that there was too much of an overlap. I can't collect for every system, so I moved those on. We then come over to the Saturn. That is a lovely mint box, long box, which I think is the rarer type Saturn. I got that from my good friend Scott at the Retro Realm. Very pleased with that. And then we come into the Japanese Saturn games, of which I wish to add many more to them. In fact, I'd like this whole bookcase to be full of these games. And I don't expect them either to be all sort of angled at 45 degrees like this. It's just, well, I've got the space and I need to fill it up somehow. Highlights there, let me see. We've got a Hot Blooded Family there, almost at the top right next to In the Hunt. So I do like my brawlers. And you'll see that also I've got Dungeons and Dragons there. What else? Kingdom Grand Prix. there on the left. Not had that long. I found that it's a great game. It's a racing game and a shoot 'em up all in one. It took me a while to work out you can't hold the button to fire and boost at the same time. You can do one or the other. So you either shoot enemies and travel slower, or you try and dodge them and travel faster. But I did enjoy that. The other game I also enjoyed and completed recently is Night Strikers there on the right. That's currently being ported to the Switch by M2. And anyone who knows about games know that M2 do make the best ports, so I will no doubt be picking that up in due course. Then we move down to the Dreamcast. Hopefully there's not going to be too much glare. Well, there's quite a bit. You can tell I'm a novice at this. As I said, I'm only 3 games away from a full shoot 'em up set. I don't include Bang.io as a shooter. I know some people do, and neither do I include rail shooters. But yeah, what are the highlights there? I guess for me, Neo XYX on the bottom left by not G-Rev, NG Dev Team, of course it is. So yeah, that's a particular highlight. But what you'll find is a lot of these games are coming out and being remastered on the Switch. So you've got Trigger Heart Elixir, Under Defeat. Those games are next to each other. They are both now on the Switch. There's quite a list of them. I won't go through it all now. Oh yes. Then if I pan across here, got Border Down on my main TV. You can see here I've got arcade sticks and lots of space to add consoles. Got my CRT there, Bang & Olufsen. And then the highlight, well not the highlight, but being able to hang a TV vertically. I don't know if it's an unusual pattern I've got at the back of that TV, but the TV bracket I had, I could put it perpendicular to how it would normally go, so hence I can have it like that. Bit of Strikers 1945 artwork on the wall, and there's that Sega Mega Drive, which is the 4th time I've had that, and that's going nowhere. And I should probably quickly mention movies, because apparently I'm into movies. Also into Doctor Who, and I'm trying to go for a full set there. I think this is I'm about a third of the way there. I will share this. I spent weeks trying to track down DVDs that didn't exist. Of course, I had forgotten that a number of these TV series had been deleted from the BBC archives. So there I am. I'm thinking, why can I not find this? Why can I not find that? Well, because they don't bloody exist anymore. Anyway, we're nearly a third of the way through there. Also getting into some anime. I've recently got into some 4K. A very modest collection of 4K. I'm mostly picking up sci-fi. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, Westerns. Now, just quickly on Westerns, you can see I've got some nice little box sets there. I do like the Arrow releases. Some quite obscure spaghetti westerns and things like that I've really got an appreciation for. I mean, I've been watching movies the other day from like the 1950s black and white jobs, but yeah, really enjoying those. And it's like I hadn't watched a John Wayne movie before, so I've watched a few of those now. So yeah, really getting into westerns. What I was going to say is, can you believe there are 1,500 westerns released on Blu-ray? So that in itself equates to another games library. As I said, I live on my own. Anyway, enough of my waffle. Let me have a little go of Mushihime-sama. Here we are, guys. Time for me to play level 1 of Mushihime-sama on the Switch. As you can see, it does look glorious on this vertically hung TV. I did contemplate whether I should turn my phone around to mirror it, but I've kept it as it is. So we'll start off on normal original mode. I do prefer, for some reason, the narrow shot type. I think this might be the speediest ship. I hope it is. And let's see how we get on. Now, whether I can talk and play at the same time remains to be seen. But what I would say is that, I mean, this looks fantastic. And this is what I mean when I say it has a sort of Fern Gully aesthetic to it. I mean, this makes a change from traditional shooters. You know, I'm not in space. It's not World War II based. I think the Japanese or translation for this is Bug Princess. So it's very easy on the eye. He took a while to kill. I must have missed the power up. I was too busy talking. I was going to say bullet hells look difficult, but they're not always as difficult as they first appear, because what you need to know is your hitbox is significantly smaller. And this is, oh, here we are. This is why it looks like I'm getting hit when I'm actually not. And what I prefer about them is there are no environmental hazards. If I play a Euro shooter, it would typically be horizontal. I can't fly too high, I can't fly too low. I've got to navigate my way through it, to say nothing of the bullets. Whereas with this, I can zip around the screen. I've just got to avoid that neon purple, very easy to see. And also, I mean, I think this is on the normal setting. You can put it on easy or very easy. You have unlimited credits. You can credit feed the game and complete it. Which sounds like cheating, but it's worth doing that just to get used to the mechanics of it. And then you can just always up the difficulty when you feel like it. I should have moved then. Now I try and get through this boss fight without losing a life or using a bomb. Try and save them up for a higher score or for the next level. Oh dear me. Well, that's not going to plan. I'll show you a little bit of the second level just to prove I'm not completely incompetent. But moving forward, I would plan to do this at the end of most videos, is just play the first level of a shooter. If there's any in particular you'd want to see me play, by all means put that in the comments. I can already see people saying, oh, how about Mars Matrix? Yes, I do actually like Mars Matrix, hard though it is. I do like the, so if this is Mars Matrix, hang on, I wouldn't be hovering down the back here. You'd have to be right up here, right in its face, giving it some. But yeah, this is at Mars Matrix, and I need to concentrate more. Anyway, that's the end of the first video. I do plan a pickups video in the next week. I've already picked up some more shooters and some westerns actually. So until next time, take care.